Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Good evening. Welcome to Game Over Winnipeg, late night edition, post-game show from the Jets versus Nashville Predators game earlier today, as the Jets fell to 17-4 on the season with a tough 4-1 loss to the Nashville Predators. My name is Ty Dilello, and I'm the host here at Game Over Winnipeg. Not a great game from our side. Roman Josi got the scoring started in the first period. Then Nashville scored again, but it was challenged by the Jets successfully for offside. In the second period, it looked like the Jets were finding some life. Adam Labarre scored to make it 1-1. Looked like the Jets were starting to, carry play again. But in the third period, whether the Jets were tired, whether, from playing back-to-back, whether whatever you want to call it, Nashville turned it on. They got a power play goal from Steven Stamkos, and then Jonathan Marchessault scored about a minute later, put Nashville up 3-1. The Jets pushed, but couldn't muster anything, and Roman Josi got a second of the game with an empty net goal to win 4-1. Before we get into that, do a quick ad read for Hyperdrive Hockey. Check out the flagship show of Game Over Network. That's Hyperdrive Hockey, which is Hyperdrive Hockey, all things hockey across various leagues in multiple countries, whatever it is and wherever it is. Max, Daphne, and Kev have you covered for all of your hockey news with a steady dose of fun and fan engagement. You can find Hyperdrive Hockey on the Game Over Network YouTube channel or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts on the Hyperdrive Hockey page at thegameovernetwork.com. Hey, we got David W in the chat. Hey David. David writes, no doubt an ugly game by a Jets team that no doubt was gassed after a big win under 24 hours before. TBD will be how soon they'll figure out how to get points in more than just either of any pairing of games scheduled for consecutive calendar days Central Time. Usually when you play the back-to-back, you can it's usually a good sign to bet on the other team. Even though tonight I thought was a pretty winnable game, considering Nashville was dead last in the National Hockey League coming into this game tonight. But at the same time, Nashville has historically always played Winnipeg very tough. I think, their players really get up for it. I think our players get up for it. Not tonight. They just have a rivalry that kind of goes back to that, 2018 second round series. The Jets won in 7 games. And I thought we saw Nashville's best game of the year. Nashville's, been probably my second team after the Jets, I would say, over the years. I was a big Pekka Rinne fan for a long time, so I do watch a lot of Nashville games. And although they haven't looked good at all, this season, the new additions that they've made, Stamkos, Marchessault, and Brady Shea, those three personally have had very rough seasons to date. They were all excellent tonight. They played definitely their best game of the season. It just happened to be against the Jets. I fully anticipate Nashville kind of coming back from this, coming back and, maybe they don't make the playoffs this year just because of how far back they are right now. It's still so early, they could. But I think Nashville is going to turn it around this year, once they find themselves. They are a very good team. They have very, very good players. And hats off to them. They played a really good game tonight. David W. also says, it's not that the Jets lost, but how they did in rather ugly fashion. Yes. The Oilers, meanwhile, pounding the New York Rangers 6-1 with just under 5 to go in that suit. Yeah, that's, it was not pretty by any stretch of the imagination. It was just at times it felt like a very frustrating game from the Jets. I was wondering, is the ice maybe a little bit soft in Nashville? It seemed like the Jets players in particular were kind of fumbling the puck, a little bit more than usual. Like they weren't able to make crisp passes. They weren't able to get zone entries, sustained offensive zone time that we've been used to seeing. They had some chances, and when they did, UC Saros was there to make the save. He was excellent, but I just felt like the Jets didn't generate enough, offense to really hurt. To really hurt Nashville, to really get into Saros's kitchen, if you will. At the same time, Saros was, I thought probably the number one star of the game. You could make a case that Eric Comrie was number 2 star of the game. He was always going to play this game in a back-to-back. He's got to get, if we're going to get him 20 starts this season, the rest Hellebuck a little bit more. He's got to play games like these, and he came in, played admirably. I'm not going to pin many of the goals on him tonight on Eric. He's showing that kind of once again he's he can be a solid backup for the Jets. He can be reliable. He can kind of come in and play whenever Hellebuck gets the night off. So it was a good night for Comrie. Not a lot of other Jets I can say they had a great game. Back to I appreciate the chat, David, because I usually don't get anybody talking too much in the live chat. So it's always nice to when somebody's here can kind of riff back and forth with. So David W says the Preds got up to play the Jets, and if I were to pick just either the Preds or Sens to the season, see playoff action, I'd give a slight advantage to the Preds. The Sens came close to winning that game today over the Canucks, but for the Sens it was a case of a little too late once again. Yeah, I totally agree. I think Nashville is definitely a much more of a playoff team than Ottawa, historically, and just the way their teams are built right now. I think that Ottawa's close. They're just missing a couple pieces, and then I think they'll have the chops to be a playoff team. While this Nashville team definitely has the talent, the players, the experience to be a perennial playoff team. And that's kind of what a lot of the pundits and media were kind of saying going into this year, that most people pick Nashville to win the division or be top 3 in the Central. That's for sure. So this has been a massive shock, I think, to the entire hockey world, that Nashville, coming into tonight at least, was last place in the entire league. I think they'd won 5 or 6 games, out of 20, while the Jets had won 17 of those 20 games. So I liked, for Nashville, I think we got their best game of the season tonight. They were excellent. I think that if Nashville continues to play like this, and once they find their game, they're going to be incredibly tough. A very tough out, a very tough team to beat. And if it's not too late, they can make a playoff push for sure. They did it. I think last year they were one of the hottest teams after November in the NHL last year, and surged into the playoffs, and then lost, I think, in 6 to Vancouver in the first round. So there's a lot to like there. On the Jets side, as I said, aside from Comrie, there wasn't a lot to love. Maybe the defense was hurting a bit today. As if you watch the game, Dylan Sandberg left the game. The Jets were playing with 5 defensemen, for the contest, and Josh Morrissey, Dylan DeMello's minutes were almost hitting, I think, 30 on the night. We got a big scare in the third period when Josh Morrissey took that, that kind of vicious, unlucky, elbow to the temple or whatever it was, and I was like, I thought he was going to get pulled from the concussion spotter, but thankfully it must have just missed, whatever up there in the noggin, and he came back. So that was a big, sigh of relief from Jets fans, because you don't want your number 1 defenseman, to go down with injury. And yeah, we're very thankful. Very thankful Josh's okay. Very thankful the Jets have not had, too many injury problems, this season. Sandberg being out will be a bit of a loss. He is a top 4, defenseman on the Jets, this season, playing on that second pairing with, Neil Pionk. good news, I guess. Billy, we'll talk about it in the next, one of the next segments here on the show. But Ville Heinola is going to be called up tomorrow, and I fully anticipate Ville Heinola playing, Monday, either in Sandberg's spot or just playing in Hayden Fleury's spot. I think that's Scott O'Neill's intention. We'll talk more about that in the next segment. But David says, yet on the Saturday Central Time Locked On Sens podcast, all three co-hosts claimed the time had come to make big changes to the Sens. For the Sens, this season has been a disaster, and just what changes will come certainly will be interesting. It may be that no member of the team is untouchable, whether Brady Tkachuk, Tim Stützle, Linus Ullmark, Jake Sanderson, Drake Batherson, or really any other player. You're Ottawa, they have good pieces. I just don't think the time is right for them. I don't think the time is right now for them to be a playoff team. They have, as you listed, a lot of good young talent. I think Linus Ullmark's a good goaltender. And all those players that you listed are all, under the age of 25, so they're not even coming into their prime yet. And players like, Brady Tkachuk and Tim Stützle are putting up, 90-point seasons already. So if you're an Ottawa fan, I would just, and hopefully for management too, stay patient, because, it ain't your time yet. Clearly, there's well-seasoned teams, like the Jets, like, a lot of other teams that are, ready, that are in kind of a win-now mode, while, Ottawa is going to, if they don't blow it up, as you're suggesting, like, they are going to win at some point and be a, a perennial playoff team. It's just not yet. It's just not yet. And then David Yost, Oilers beat the Rangers 6-2. That's 2 straight Rangers losses. Yeah, games like that are going to happen. Oilers are very, top-heavy offensively. I'm not looking at the stats. I'm sure they're, McDavid and Draisaitl had a night. Those games will happen. If Shesterkin was a net, that's good news for Hellebuck, fans with the Vezina watch. If Shesterkin can get lit up here and there, it'll help Helly's Vezina chances at the end of the year, I'm sure. So let's hit another ad read as we go to the second period. LaRouche, Game Over Network is an independent production focused on community, inclusion, and quality people. So if you're interested in supporting the Game Over Network, we have crowdfunding options available. In the description of this episode, you'll find a link to our Patreon page. And we're also working on a page through LaRouche, which is a crowdfunding platform for companies originating in Quebec. For LaRouche, we're aiming to raise $15,000. And if we hit that goal, we're aiming to... if we hit that goal, it'll allow us to employ more people. We have a lot of good people here at Game Over. A lot of good quality people, very inclusive. We've got people from all different walks of life. So it's a great platform. We thank you for watching. If you have any ideas for what you'd like to see as giveaways from these crowdfunding efforts, let us know in the comments on Twitter, Instagram, our Discord server, or the Blue Sky app, I guess, which is kind of like the new Twitter, it feels like. It's something new, it's something fresh. I'm on there. I still call it tweeting, but I'm making Blue Sky posts every day about the Jets, about hockey, what's going on. And a lot of I would say most of our Game Over staff, most of our other co-hosts and stuff, they've kind of migrated over there. And I'm kind of found a bit of a home on Blue Sky. So if check it out. I'd encourage you guys to check it out. Whatever political party you support, I don't really go off of that, but it's just a good app. It's just where people are kind of hanging out these days. We'll get back to the show. David, I appreciate all the messages. Trust me, because like I said, I usually don't get people, talking to me on here, so it's great. David says the Canucks 2 seasons ago had a rather poor season and turned things around massively. The next, for the Sens, that turnaround isn't something I see quite as easily occurring. When I look at penalties, there was no doubt were many, but I don't see a major having been called against the Jets or Preds, unlike against Quinn Hughes, game misconduct for boarding Josh Norris. And Brendan Labarre, my Jets co-host, says my man David is just co-hosting. Hot damn, yeah. it's great, Brendan, because like nobody watches my shows, so this is fantastic. Yeah. This is a Jets podcast though. You're kind of going heavy, David, with the Canucks and Senators and stuff. Like, I'm happy to talk about it, but we're trying to keep it a little bit Jets centric. Jets, yeah, whatever though. Yeah, the Canucks 2 seasons ago. Yeah, they've been one of the better franchises in the league, I would say, last year and stuff, and even this year they're good. Ottawa's they're just not there yet. Like Vancouver, the thing is, Ottawa, all those players that you listed earlier have zero playoff experience, so you kind of got to get into the playoffs and kind of get whacked, at least once, maybe a few times before you kind of feel playoff hardened. I feel like the Jets are tired of getting whacked. I think the Jets are now. Hopefully they know how to lose. I think they're learning how to win now in the postseason. So I think if the Jets kind of get in this year, we're not going to win the first game and lose the next 4. I don't think that's going to happen this time. I could very well be wrong. It could very well be. David again. Blue Sky, interesting app, particularly with Twitter searches of tweets or by certain accounts having turned up, only those not by such accounts. Don't quite understand that one. I'm just maybe I'm a little dyslexic. If you're on Blue Sky though, David, give me a follow. Give Brendan a follow. Let's hang out. Let's be friends. David says the Jets have been so good this season, and there have been so many games. Various Canadian NHL teams have been playing that watching the Jets hasn't been something I've done. That's all good, David. Watch the Jets now. They're a fun team to watch. And Brendan, hashtag let David cook. Yeah, let him cook. If you got a webcam, David, I can get you kind of on the half here screen. We can kind of get you set up. We can talk, get you on mic. Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, I was going to talk a little bit about the injury to Sandberg. Not the injury, but what's kind of going to be happening if I didn't catch any of Scott Arniel's post game. I was at a dinner. Depending. One thing's for sure. We know that the Jets are gonna call up Ville Heinola tomorrow. That's a for sure, and it's a for sure. I would say that he's gonna play on Monday. So if Sandberg can't play, then Ville Heinola is gonna slot in second pairing with Neil Pionk. If Sandberg plays, then Heinola will play for Hayden Fleury in that spot. Yeah, so that's just kind of how it's going to shake out, I think. It's going to be great to finally see Ville Heinola in a Jets uniform and hopefully finally get a bit of a runway. Something that I think he, some of his teammates have been wanting for a while. I think the organization's ready for Ville Heinola finally. It's been a frustrating time. The injuries are one thing, but this guy has been, when Ville Heinola would get into the Jets lineup, he'd play like one game and then he'd be back in the press box for like a while, or he'd play a couple games and that would be all he'd play in the season. I really feel like it's pretty common sense. I think you just, players like Logan Stanley have been given massive runways and done nothing. Vesalainen played like 50. He was a first-round pick. He got 52 games and scored 1 goal. He got a massive runway before the Jets finally acknowledged that he was a bust. Ville Heinola is not a bust by any circumstances, but he's never been able to, get into the top 6, Winnipeg on a consistent basis. So, this is definitely his chance. To be a top 6 player on this team. The slot is right there for the taking in that Hayden Fleury, Logan Stanley spot. He's clearly the best of those players. I think we really need to see Ville Heinola play 10 games in a row and just see what we have in him, because we really don't know. We've seen him do well at the AHL level. He's performed admirably in his Jets spot appearances over the years, but we really, in order to see what we truly have in Ville Heinola, we got to give him a runway. Let him play on the team for a while. If he has a bad game, you put him back out there the next game. You don't scratch him for 10 games or something like we've seen in the past. David, my man. The Bruins 2 seasons ago finished first in the NHL on regular season points, but would go on to lose in 7 games after having blown a 3-1 lead in the first round playoff series. That they did. Maybe one of these days this season I'll get to watch a Jets game. I do have NHL Center Ice, making it possible to get around, but otherwise be blackouts because of TSN broadcasts of such games. David, can I ask what city that you're in? Which I get. Yeah, we get blackouts here too. For Oilers games and whatnot. But which Canadian city are you in that you're getting the Jets games blacked out? And yeah, you're right. The Bruins, had the NHL record 2 seasons ago. Best regular season ever, and then they crashed out in the first round. So these big regular seasons, they're nice, obviously, but at the end of the day, it's what you do in the playoffs, that matter. Although I will say it will be cool, hopefully it comes this year, where the Jets can finally raise a banner. The Jets 2.0 have been in the league since 2011, and we've never even won a division title, let alone a conference or a President's Trophy. So it'd be really cool to, at least, finally have a banner, raised in the Canada Life Center. Albeit it's obviously what you do in the playoffs that counts. That's what the players want, the management wants. We want playoff success, a Stanley Cup. But yeah, a banner would be cool. We did get close in 2018 2018. I believe we were second in the entire NHL in points. But it just so happened that first place was Nashville. Who won the President's Trophy and won the Western Conference Trophy and got the Central Division banner as well. So they got all 3 that year, and the Jets got none for finishing second in the entire league. So that was a bit of a bummer. David's, I live in the Leafs viewing region where my TV subscription is based. Fair enough, David. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense why the Jets are blacked out. There are ways to watch the Jets games if you stream them online, illegally, I guess. David, if you want, some links to some, ways around to watch whatever Jets games you want, send me a message. Follow me and send me a message on Blue Sky, and I'll hook you up with some, ways to kind of get around those blackouts, David. The Jets, he said, David again. The Jets have made a single conference final appearance, and from the 2018-19 season have only won a single playoff series. The 2021 sweep of the Oilers. That is correct. That is the stats. That's just how it is. The Oilers sweep was great, and then we got swept by the Canadians. And ever since, we've lost, twice in the first round in 5 games. So, we have not had, a lot of recent playoff success, you can say. But you can say it's, been a lot more than, Toronto, at least. David, if you're a Leafs fan, the Jets have definitely been a better playoff team than the Toronto Maple Leafs over the last 15 years, which at least we can brag about. Let's hit another ad read as we get to the third period. Game on Winnipeg, which we don't have yet. I don't know why I'm still doing these ad reads, David, but Game Over has you covered after the game. But in order to get ready to watch the Jets, you've got to get your game on too. So Game On Winnipeg is a short-form daily news podcast covering everything you need to know about the Winnipeg Jets. Debuting very, very soon, let's hope for. Get all of your Jets news in under 10 minutes, Monday through Friday on the Game Over Winnipeg YouTube channel and in podcast form, which you can find, or you can find at the GameOverNetwork.com/pages/Winnipeg. There we go. Third period. David, any suggestions on what you what should we talk about for this next segment? It seems you're kind of my new co-host here. So yeah, if you're still watching, let me know what you'd like to talk about. I was late starting the show tonight. I watched the Jets game. I went over to visit my 95-year-old grandpa, Roy Childs. A heck of a guy, my favorite person on earth. It's still great. He's able to watch Jets games and enjoy them, and so we had a good time at his place. And then I went out to a nice late dinner afterwards. and that's why I just got home now and just I started the broadcast a little bit late tonight. So my apologies for that. My grandpa was kind of telling me about his early hockey, just how much kind of things have changed, in hockey and watching hockey and whatnot. He was born in 1929. He grew up, just outside of Dauphin, which is about 3 hours, northwest of Winnipeg. Very rural, in a very small like village just outside of Dauphin, like I said. His father was the postmaster, like the postman for like the small town, and his family had the one radio in the entire kind of village, or within like a couple mile radius. So on Saturday nights, literally everybody in the town would come over to his place to listen to the radio, listen to Foster Hewitt and the Hockey Night in Canada, and listen to, it was always Toronto Maple Leafs against whoever they were playing. But he's got fond memories of that, and learning about hockey, and listening and imagining that you're there in person, watching the games, just the way that Foster Hewitt would tell it. So like my grandpa would, your favorite players would be those Toronto Maple Leaf stars of the 1930s, Charlie Conacher, Busher Jackson, Joe Primo, later in the 40s, Sil Apps, Turk Broda, who came from Brandon and, was kind of a Western Manitoba boy. Those were the players that, he would emulate, idolize while he's playing, pond hockey in rural Manitoba with his friends, using, horse manure for pucks because they, can't afford a puck. Cutting up, making a hockey stick out of like a tree. So just a way different way of watching hockey and getting into the game, into what it is today. So I thought that was kind of, just always, it's always neat to hear, stories from, the past like that. And obviously I'm a bit of a hockey historian. I'm looking at the eight hockey history books that I've written. So I appreciate that, I guess, a little bit more than most. David, back in the chat, thank you, says, what about defense? Not good against the Preds. Is there a way the Jets can get ready for games scheduled 24 hours apart? I don't think this late November set will be the last before the 2025 postseason. And then he also says, one of my grandparents was also born in Manitoba, with two others born much closer to Toronto. The other was born in what had then been Poland. Very cool. The original 6 NHL era was no doubt epic, but it's so good the NHL has expanded much further. That is very true. Very true, David. The NHL has reached a lot of places now throughout North America, and it's probably going to keep on expanding from here. I think 34 teams. We're going to see that within the next 5 years. Cool about your grandparents too. Then, as you were saying about the Jets defense, I think most NHL teams struggle having to play games back to back. I think the Jets have done it. The Jets have had actually one of the better records, I would say, in back-to-back games. I think we've won, we usually win, them. So, and then I think in the postseason you don't play back-to-back nights. And yes, David, our defense was not good tonight. Our offense was not good. I didn't even talk about our offense. Connor Shafley Velarde, useless 5-on-5 again. Just another giving up more than they produce, which has been frustrating. Our defense, David, we were missing. Dylan Sandberg went down with injury, so we were playing with 5 defensemen for much of the game. And, players like Morrissey, DeMello were nearing 30 minutes of ice time, so they were maybe overworked. Tonight on a back-to-back, so that was no doubt tough. The Jets are going to come back from this and rest up tomorrow, and then they'll come back, Monday, and hopefully have a better showing for the next game. Let's do one more ad read as we go to overtime. Let's put up the merch on the screen. How about that? So what better way to support something you love than by rocking it as clothing? Game Over's apparel line has dropped with 3 unique designs. Whether you feel the nostalgic pull of our retro skater design, Want to make a statement with our established design, which is currently on sale. Want to wear your love for goalies proudly with our Live and Die by the Goalie design. Or if you just need another coffee to get you through the winter, because we got mugs, we got you covered. Designed by Brady Chalice from Game Over Winnipeg. Use the QR code on the stream now and take a look through our apparel store and help us rebuild local sports media in Canada while repping your community. So, David, I'm talking to you, David. Give that, you go the phone on go to the camera app on your phone, go to the camera, hold it over the screen, check out the QR code, check out some of the merch. I don't know, when you're walking around the Toronto, broadcast area, maybe you'd wanna. We don't just have Game Over Winnipeg stuff. We got Game Over Toronto stuff, or the Ottawa you're talking about, Vancouver. We got lots of options. Pick something up, and then come back to me next show and show me what you got. That'd be pretty cool. And speaking of the Winnipeg Jets, the Jets are back in action on Monday night as they continue this long road trip, the longest of the season, against the very hot Minnesota Wild, who lost in a shootout to Calgary today. That was in Calgary's 4th win in a row. But yeah, Minnesota is very hot. Kaprizov, let me get this off the screen now. Okay. Kaprizov's going for an MRI tomorrow. He kind of got a little bit of a knee-on-knee fender bender, I think, last game. He missed tonight's game. So, maybe the Jets will, kind of avoid Kaprizov on Monday. We'll see. I'm looking forward to it regardless. It should be a good one. Minnesota and the Jets have obviously a bit of a rivalry geographically, but they've always had. It always seems like games where they don't like each other. Wild fans will point to the Logan Stanley, injury to Kaprizov a couple years ago. Jets fans will point to when we spanked the Wild in 5 games in the 2018 playoffs. So there's some bad blood. Teams don't like each other. It's going to be fun on Monday nights. I think I'll be there for that one. Brendan, let me know if it's you, but I think it's me. I think I'll see you guys after the game. David, the Jets have found ways to get points in most games, other than during the 2020 and 2021 postseasons. I can't recall a single one with games played by any one team under 24 hours apart. Yes, that is very true. That is very true, David. So with that, unless you got anything else, David, I'm gonna have to wrap up the show. I love to keep talking with you. So find me on Blue Sky or find me after the next Jets game. We can kind of continue this conversation. Maybe bring you on as a guest, get you a mic, get you a camera set up, and we can kind of riff back and forth. One more thing, David says, hopefully Kaprizov will recover soon. That said, it's remarkable, even with over $14 million of dead money from the buyouts of Zach Parise and Ryan Suter, the Minnesota Wild have put together a competitive team. No doubt. That is extremely impressive and cannot be understated. The work that kind of Bill Guerin's done putting together, a solid team. And Mini's good. I didn't peg them for a playoff team necessarily this year. They kind of got some aging talent there with Zuccarello and whatnot. But they've also got a lot of good young players. And I expect Monday night to be a very tough test. Yes. So we'll be back here Monday night. Following a 7 o'clock, 7 or 7:30 game against the Minnesota Wild. Where the Jets hope to make it 18-4. That'd be a great record, I guess, to have. It's already an amazing record. So join myself here I'll be on time on Monday, 5 minutes after the game. Here on the Winnipeg Game Over YouTube channel. So we hope to see you here. Take care. Have a great night. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace.